Hello friends, welcome to our channel Bang on Theory. So friends, from today we are going to start our new series of C++ beginner to expert series with examples. Okay, so before starting this series, I want to tell you something why you should watch this series and why you should follow this series. So there are a lot of tutorials and lectures available of C++, Java and for different programming language by different experts, but this series is different from other series because problem is we basically watch and follow particular series and tutorial, but after some time we forget all concepts because we couldn't implement that concept practically. Okay, so our aim is to clear and aware about all topics and concepts in only one video, all theoretical concepts in one video. Okay, and after that all practical topic wise series and programs with their execution like HackerRank problems, automatic fix question for your upcoming placements and for your projects with their time complexity, algorithm, data structure. Okay, and so in first video we are only going to discuss all theoretical basic concepts. Okay, and after that all practical topic wise implementation. Okay, so without wasting our time, let's start. So first, please subscribe our channel, guys. We need your support. Like this video, okay, and share this video and share our channel with your friends, okay, with your juniors, and you can also join our WhatsApp and Telegram group. Okay, so let's start. So before starting this series, you should know about why you should learn C++ in 2020. Okay, so let's start. So first and most important reason is C++ popularity and their high salary, because C++ is one of the most popular languages in the world and it is used by approx 4.4 million developers worldwide. Okay, and also C++ developers are quite sought after, and they hold some of the most high paying jobs in the industry. Okay, and most important, C++ has abundant library support, standard template library, STL library. We will discuss about this later. Okay, because most of the coders, competitive coders and in competitive programmings, most of the coders use this abundant library support, standard library support. That's why C++ is the most powerful and important and popular languages in the world. Okay, that is very useful. It is helps in writing code compactly and quickly as required, and it contains mainly four components: algorithm, containers, functions and iterators. We will discuss about this later. Okay, and C++ has a large and great community. Okay, and experts that is particularly helpful in case in any support is required. Okay, and obvious C++ in databases, modern day databases such as MySQL, MongoDB, MemSQL that are written in C++. This is because C++ is quite modern and it supports features like exception, lambda expression, and many of the databases that are written in C++ are used in almost all of the in use applications such as YouTube, WordPress, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Okay, and next, C++ in operating systems such as Windows, Linux, Android, Ubuntu, iOS are written in combination of C and C++, and the Windows applications are written in C++, while Android applications are written in Java along with C and C++. Okay, and in terms of compiler, C++ is closer to the hardware level and it is a comparatively low level language, and we can say C++ is a mid level language because it is comparatively closer to hardware level and also comparatively closer to higher level language. That's why C++ is called mid level language, and you can say it is a low level language because it is also closer to the hardware level. Okay, and because of this reason it is used in many compilers such as as a backend programming language. Okay, and in terms of web browser, see a lot of web browsers are already developed using C++, such as Chrome, Firefox, Safari. So Chrome contains C++ in the rendering engine, JavaScript engine and the UI. Okay, Firefox usually mainly in the rendering engine and a little in the UI. Okay, and in graphics application requiring graphics such as digital image processing, computer vision, screen recording programs use C++ due to its high speed, and this can also include different games that have high graphics as a big part of their structure. In embedded system also to the hardware level, and so it is quite useful in embedded system, as the software and hardware and these are closely coupled, and also such as smartwatches, mp3 player, gps systems. And also C++ is portable. Programs developed in C++ can be moved from one platform to another. So there are different reasons available why you should learn C++. And 2020 you can make your career in C++ and grab uh, amazing jobs with high packages. Okay, and you can create amazing projects, and you can also make your career in competitive programming also. Okay, so let's start. So first, what is C++? Okay, you already know about what is C++, but those who don't know about what is C++, so let's start. Okay, so C++ is an object oriented programming language. Okay, first and most important point is C++ is an object oriented programming language, and it is an extension to C programming. Why C++ is an extension to C programming? This question is important because reason is at that time when developers and we can say C++ when in their developing phase, so at that time developers only wants to add some new functionality like object oriented functionality in C++ without affecting their features which have already available in C. So they actually want to enhance the capability of C programming and want to create something new by using already available features of C programming. That's why C++ is called the extension of C programming. Okay, we will discuss about this later. Okay, and in this tutorial we actually discuss about all C++ topics. First, basic example, control statements, object and classes, inheritance, constructor, basically all OOPS concept, and polymorphism, abstraction, classes, namespace, encapsulation, string exception handling, and file IO. Okay, and also STL library. So C++ is a general purpose language and also case sensitive and free form programming language that supports object oriented concepts, procedural, and also generic programming. Okay, and C++ is a middle level language. I have already explained about you about this why C++ is a middle level language. Okay, and as it encapsulates both high and low level language features, that why C++ is a middle level language. Okay, so next is object oriented programming. In our Java video we have already discussed about object oriented programming, and in this video also we are going to discuss about object oriented programming and all their concepts. So C++ supports the object oriented programming and there are four major pillars of object oriented programming. Okay, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, abstraction. We will discuss about this one by one later. Okay, so what is the C++ history? Okay, we also need to know about, and we should know about what is the exact history of C++. Okay, so history of C++ language is very interesting. Okay, so C++ programming language was developed in 1980s by Bjarne Stroustrup at Bell Laboratories of American Telephone and Telegraph located in USA. So Bjarne Stroustrup is known as the founder of C++ language. Okay, and it was developed for adding a features of object oriented programming in C without significantly changing the C component. Okay, so C++ programming is relative called a superset of C. Okay, I already told about you. Okay, and it means any valid C program is also a valid C++ program, because C++ programming is relatively called a superset of C. Okay, so I hope you understood. Okay, so next is different features of C++. Okay, so we already discussed about C++ is portable language. Okay, and C++ is simple language, and they also have a memory management feature. Okay, and they also have scalable and extensible language, and it is also faster compared to other language. Okay, and it is compiler based language, means all program which we want to execute first compile. Okay, and it have pointer feature. Okay, and it also have recursion feature, and also follows object oriented principles, and it have rich library support. And C++ is structured language, okay, and also middle level language, okay. So these are different features of C++, okay. And if you have any query and any question, you can directly ask in comment section, okay. So next is basic C++ program, and what is the exact basic structure of C++, okay. So before starting the ABCD of C++ language, you need to learn how to write, compile and run the first C++ program. So first, header files, okay. You already know about header files if you learn about C++, and if you already know about C++ and C, okay. So first is you should include header files, okay, basic header files. First is hash include iostream.h. It includes the standard input output library function, okay. So you need to include this header file first. And this conio.h, you already know about this conio.h. You already use this conio.h in C programming language, okay. Then main function void main, okay. Then CLR SCR, okay. You already know about this CLR SCR in C programming language. You already use this CLR SCR method. So it provides C in and C out methods for reading from input and writing to output respectively. This iostream.h header file, okay, standard input output library functions. Then conio.h includes the console output library functions, and this getch method function is defined in conio.h file. That's why we need to include this header file, okay, to use this getch method, okay. And void main, the main function, is the entry point of every program. You already know about this, okay. And void keyword specified that it returns no value. And now let's discuss about this cout, okay. What is this cout? Cout basically is used to print the data, okay, and print the particular statement like printf, okay. Printf in C programming language, and system.out.print in Java programming language. So in C we use cout, okay, is used to print the data and statement on the console, okay. You already know about getch. So this is basically basic structure, and we can say and basic structure of program of C++. We will discuss about all different concepts in our next slide, okay. So C++ basic input and output. So C++ IO operation is using the stream concept, okay. So stream is basically the sequence of bytes or flow of data, okay, and it makes the performance fast. So if bytes flows from main memory to device like printer, display screen, or a network connection, okay, so this is called an output operation. So you already know about what is input operation and what is output operation and what is stream, okay. And if bytes flows from device like printer, display, or a network connection to main memory, this is called input operation, okay. So next is these are some basic header files, library header files, which we normally use in C++ programming. So first is we already discussed about iostream header file. So it is used to define the cout, cin, and cr objects, which correspond to standard output stream, input stream, and error stream respectively. And this is io-manif header file. It is used to declare service useful for performing formatted IO, such as set precision and setw. So we will discuss about these header files later. And this is fstream header file, is used to declare services for user control file processing. So these are some basic header files, okay, which we can use in our C++ programming, okay. So next is standard output stream cout. We already discussed about what is cout and what is the purpose of this cout. So in this example, as we can see, so what is this what is the purpose of this using namespace std statement, okay. So we will discuss about this in our next slide, okay. And after this main method, okay, with int data type, because we basically written the result of int data type, okay. And next is array. You already know about arrays is similar as in C language, okay. So next is array of character data type, and we basically initialize the string welcome to C++ tutorial, and cout is used to print this statement, okay. So with array value, okay. So value of array is welcome to C++ tutorial, okay. So this array. So what is this endl? What is this? So this is basically simply new line character in C++. If you want to add new line character and your printing statement, so you need to include this and keyword, okay, ending keyword, and you can say this is a new line, simply as new line character, okay. And this is basically we can say operator, extraction operator, and reference operator. So we will discuss about this later, what is the purpose of these operators. So basically these are input and output reference operator, and output for extraction operator, and input for reference operator. So basically to extract the output value to the extract the value from the variable to the output stream, and reference the value from input console to input stream, okay. So we will discuss about this later. So main point you should know about this in example is we will discuss about this using namespace std in our next slide, okay. And int main, you already know about that, and array simply you already used in C, okay. And cout is used for printing, and this reference operator for extraction and reference, and array keyword for array value, okay. This is basically and simply an array, okay. And this is new line character. So output is value of arrays. Welcome to C++. Simply same as standard input stream, cin to get the input, okay. So basically we use cout, enter your age, okay, then cin to get the input, okay. So there is a extraction and reference operator, okay. And then this your age is simply to print the outputs, we use cout, okay. And then we get our output. So this is basically standard output stream and input stream, same as simply as in C programming language we use printf and scanf method, okay. So in this we use standard input stream and standard output stream, cout and cin, okay. So next is why we need to use this, and what is the purpose of this using namespace std, okay. What is this using namespace std, okay. So consider a situation, okay. Consider a situation when we have two persons with the same name, okay. Let us take an example. When we have two persons with the same name, Rahul, in the same class, okay. So whenever we need to differentiate them, definitely we would have to use some additional information along with their name, okay. Like either the area, if they live in a different area, or their mother's or father name, okay. So the same situation can arise in your C++ application. For example, you might be writing some code that has a function called xyz, and there is another library available which is also having a same function xyz. So now the compiler has no way of knowing which version of xyz function you are referring to within your code. So that's why a namespace is designed to overcome this difficulty and is used as additional information to differentiate similar functions, classes, variables with the same name available in different libraries. So using namespace, you can define the context in which name are defined. In essence, a namespace defined a scope. So C++ is a standard library that contains common functionality you use in building your applications like container algorithms. So if names used by these were out in open, for example, if they defined a Q class globally, you would never be able to use the same name again without conflicts. So they created a namespace std to contain this change. So the using namespace statement just means that in the scope it is present, make all the things under the std namespace available without having to prefix std. And this is basically we can say operator, and we can say cross operator before each and them. We will discuss about this operator later, okay. So but you should also know about using namespace std is only valid and only good practice for small and simple problems. If you want to create a complex application and large application, so using namespace std is not a good practice. It is basically a bad practice. So we will discuss about this later, why using namespace std is a bad basically a bad practice if you want to create a complex and large application. So you should basically know about why we should why basically we need to use this using namespace std in our C++ programs and applications, okay. So I hope you understood, okay. So next is this ending standard ending line we already discussed about. This is basically we need to use for our when we want to add new line character in our program. So in this example, as you can see, first output statement is C plus tutorial, and after this next is hello, and after this new line character. So as you can see, after hello our new line character, and after this end of line statement, and then new line character. Okay, so this is basically standard end line. Okay, new line character. Okay, so I hope you understood. So next is C++ variables. So variable, we already know what is a name for memory location. So it is used to store data. Its value can be changed and it can be reused many times. So it is a way to represent memory location through symbol, so that it can be easily identified. So in this example, simple and same as in C programming language. First is data type name, int, float, character, and user defined variable name. So in this example, as you can see, x variable of int data type, y variable of float data type, z variable of character data type. So x, y, z are variables, and int, float, char are data types. So we can also provide values. You already know about that by declaring the variables as given below. So during their declaration, we can also provide there and declare their variable and also provide values in C++. Okay, so next is rules for defining variables. So variables can have alphabets, digits, and underscore. Okay, same as C programming language. Okay, and a variable name can start with alphabet and underscore only, and it can't start with digit. Okay, you already know about same rules like C programming language. Okay, and no white space is allowed within variable name. Okay, and a variable name must not be any reserved word or keyword like character, float, and while, for. Okay, so valid variables names, as you can see in this example, is int a. So a user defined variable of int data type, and this variable is starting with underscore, and this. So you can basically give a variable name and can start with alphabet and underscore only, and invalid variables you can't start with digit and numeric value. Okay, so these are invalid variables name and these are valid variable name. Okay, so next is C plus data type. So data type specifies the types of data that a variable can store, such as integer, floating, character. So in C++, these are basically 4 types of data type in C++ language. So basic data types are int, character, float, and double. Derived data types are array and pointer. Okay, and enumeration data types are enum. So user defined data types are structure. We will discuss about these data types and another data types in our next slide. Okay, so these are all basic data types. Okay, so character or memory size is 1 byte, signed character 1 byte, unsigned character of 1 byte, and short is of 2 bytes. So these are basically different basic data types. And at last, a long double of 10 byte. Okay, and double of 8 byte, and float and memory size of 4 byte, and int and memory size of 2 bytes. Okay, so these are different basic data types. Okay, so next is C++ keywords. So C++ also have 32 keywords which are also available in C language. Okay, so these are different keywords. Okay, so auto, break, case, okay, character, or constant, or default, go to, size of. So these are basically different 32 keywords. Okay, which we can use in our C++ language. Okay, so let's talk about operators. So there are following types of operator to perform different types of operation in C++ and C language. Okay, so arithmetic operators, relational operator, same all operators like in we already studied in and used in C language. Okay, so arithmetic operator, relational operator, logical operator, bitwise operator, assignment operator, unary operator, and ternary or conditional operator, and at last miscellaneous operator. So as you can see, these are binary operators. First is arithmetic operator. Okay, and then relational operator, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. Okay, and then logical or logical AND operator, and then bitwise operator. Okay, and then assignment operator. Okay, and then unary operator, double increment and decrement. Okay, and then ternary operator. Okay, ternary or conditional operator. Okay, so next is precedence of operator in C++. So these are all precedence and associativity of operators. So first is category of postfix, left to right. Okay, So parenthesis, bracket, and this shift, increment and decrement operator have left to right associativity. Okay, and unary, plus, minus, and this tilde sign and size of all have right to left. So basically these are all precedence and associativity which we already discussed and used in C programming language. Okay, and bitwise AND have left to right, bitwise XOR have also left to right. Okay, and at last comma have also left to right. Okay, so next is C++ identifier. So same as C programming language, we can say that C++ identifier represent the essential elements in a program, which are given below: constant, variables, functions, labels, defined data type. Okay, and valid identifiers are these are basically all valid identifiers. Okay, which we basically represent the essential elements in our program, and these are invalid variable identifiers. And as you can see in this identifier containing special character, okay, this sign, okay, that's why this is invalid identifier, and the first letter is a digit, and we can't use keywords in our identifier. Okay, so next is what is the difference between identifier and keywords? Okay, so we already discussed about what is identifier and what is keyword. So identifier are the names defined by a programmer, user defined names to the basic elements of a program. We can see that we can say the basic variable names. Okay, and keywords, we already know what keywords are: the reserved words whose meaning is known by the compiler. Okay, all keywords, break, continue. Okay, so it is used to identify the name of the variable, and it is used to specify the type of entity, okay, which is already pre-built entity. Okay, and it can consist of letter, digits, and underscore. It only contains letter. Okay, so it can use both lowercase and uppercase letter. It uses only lowercase letter, and no special characters can be used except the underscore. So it can not contain only any special characters. Okay, and the starting letter of identifier can be lowercase, uppercase, or underscore, and it can be classified as internal and external identifiers. And in this, it can be started only with the lowercase letter, and it cannot be further classified. So examples are whatever user defined variables you want to give: test, result, sum, power, and this we already discussed about 32 keywords for, if, else, break, continue. Okay, so I hope you understood. So next is C++ expression. So you already know about what is expression. So expression consists of operators, constant, and variables which are arranged according to the rules of the language. Whatever operations and whatever mathematical operations you want to perform by using this expression. So it can also contain functions called which returns value. So an expression can consist of one or more operands, zero or more operators to compute a value. So every expression produces some value which is assigned to the variable with the help of an assignment operator. So these are all examples of C++ expression. You already know what is expression and used for different mathematical and operational purpose. So an expression can be of following types: constant of expressions, integral expressions, float expression, pointer expression, and basically these all are relevant and basically related to all their different data types. Okay, integer data type, float data type, and pointer, and relational conditions, logical conditions, bitwise operator, and special assignment operators. Okay, so these are basically different expression we can use in our program. So as we can see in this example, so if we talk about constant expression, so as we can see in this expression containing constant, this is constant value. Okay, so x containing this expression value. Okay, and this integer y value contains constant, contains this 67 value. So these are basically all constant expression examples. And if you talk about integral expressions, so as you can see these all are variables of integer data type, and at last it will also hold integer type result. So that's why it is called integral expression. And as similar to float, if you talk about float expression and pointer expression, so they all are relevant and related to their data types. Okay, with their expressions. Okay, so now let's talk about if else. So if else is also similar, we already study and talk about in C programming language. So if a statement is used to test the condition, so there are various types of if statement in C++. So if statement and if else statement, nested if statement, and if else if ladder. So you already know what is the basic syntax of if statement. So if keyword and then particular condition what you want to give, and then statements and code to be executed, and starting with this curly braces and ending with this ending curly braces. Okay, so next is if else statement. Okay, so it executes if block if condition is true, otherwise else block is executed. Okay, and this is basic example of if else. So you already know what is if else. Okay, so I don't want to basically waste time in this if else and all basic concepts. Okay, so let's talk about switch. So you also know about what is switch statement. So execute one statement from multiple conditions. So it is also like if else if later in statement. Okay, so switch and particular expression. Okay, and then case values, and in between break to basically terminate that conditions and statement. After this, whatever case value is will be met, and after this we need to add break statement to terminate the this switch statement. And after this, if default code to be executed if all cases are not matched. So you already know what is switch statements. Okay, so in this example, as you can see, this is switch and expression and whatever variables and input you want to give. So enter a number to check grade, and this example we want to calculate the grade value. So if user enter 10 value, okay, so case 10 will be executed, and break keyword helps us to terminate the next statement and conditions and out of the loop, and terminate and goes toward the out of the this switch statement. Okay, so you already know what switch and if else conditions, and you already know what for loop. Okay, so for syntax of for loop is totally same as C programming language. Okay, so initialization condition and then condition and then increment. Okay, so C++ for loop is also used to iterate a part of the program several times. If the number of iteration is fixed, it is recommended to use for loop, then while or do while loop. Okay, so initialization condition and increment decrement. Okay, so this is basic example of for loop. Okay, it will print 1 to 10 value. Okay, so next while loop in C++, also while loop is used to iterate a part of the program several times. Syntax is totally same as and almost same as C programming language, while then conditions and code to be executed. Okay, so next is break statement. So we already discussed about, and you already know what is the purpose of break statement. So it is used to break loop or switch statement. Okay, and it breaks the current flow of the program and at the given condition. In case of inner loop, it breaks only inner loop. Okay, jump statement and then break. Okay, break keyword. So as you can see in this example, so after this loop, if I equals to 5, if we get the value of I equals to 5, then it will break the loop and it breaks the current flow of the program at the at this given condition. Okay, so our output is 1 2 3 4. After 5, it will break the current flow of the program at this given condition. Okay, so next is continue statement. So continue statement is used to continue loop. So it basically continues the current flow of the program and skips the remaining code at specified condition. So in case of inner loop, it continues only inner loop. So you already, if you want to skip the particular iteration and if you want to skip the particular condition, so you can use continue statement. Okay, so go to statement is also similar as in C programming language. So it is also known as jump statement. So it is used to transfer control to the other part of the program. It unconditionally jumps to the specified label. So in this program, our label is ineligible. So we can basically directly jump to if this if condition will be true and satisfy if age is less than 18, then this go to helps us to transfer control to this ineligible label and basically transfer and move towards this label. Okay, So comments in C++, comments are also statements that are not executed by the compiler. So in C++, basically we can use two types of comments, single line comment and multi-line comments. Okay, so you already know about what is comment. Comment in C++ programming and also in different programming language can be used to provide explanation of the code. Okay, and it basically helps us to increase the readability of a program, and variables, method or class. By the help of comment you can hide the program code also. Okay, so if you want to write and add single line comment, so basically you need to use this double slash. Okay, so in this example, as you can see, this is single line comment. This is the example of single line comment. Okay, and if you want to add and if you want to use multi-line comment, okay, so you basically need to end surrounded by slash and asterisk, whatever statement you want to add in your comment section. Okay, so you just need to surround by slash and asterisk. Okay, so next is what array types you can use in C++ programming language. So you can use single dimensional array and multi-dimensional array in C++ programming language. So what is basically the advantages of C++ array? So same as C programming language, first is code optimization. Okay, then random access. Okay, and easy to traverse data and easy to manipulate data and easy to sort data. Okay, and disadvantage also same as in C programming language, fixed size. Okay, so you already know about array, so okay, that's why I don't want to waste your time in this basic stuff. Okay, so next is in this example you can see C++ single dimensional array. In this example, so we create an array of size 5. Okay, and initialize and declare all values. Okay, so creating an initializing array and then traversing array using for loop. And in this example you can use see that traversing using for each loop. So we will discuss about the for each loop in our next video. Okay, so this is basically an single dimensional array. Okay, so now let's discuss about if you want to pass an array to a function. Okay, and then print array elements. So in this example, as you can see, we have two arrays. Okay, so first array have elements 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then second array have 5, 15, 25, 35, 45, and then we call our methods and function. First is print array and pass this array, basically call our two functions. First in first function we basically pass an array 1 and then array 2. Okay, so in this function we basically first print this statement printing array elements, and using for loop we basically printing this array values, printing all these array values. Okay, using for loop. So as you can see, we basically trying to and basically passing array values to function. So you already know about how we can pass array value to the function. Okay, so next, multi-dimensional array. Okay, so as you can see in this example, there is a declaration of 2D array, ith value and jth value, and all initialization and of all values. 0 0 value have 5 value, and 0 1 position have 10 value, 1 1 position have 15 value. So these are all initialization values of 2D array. Okay, and then traversal. So we basically need 2 loops to traverse the all values of 2D array. Okay, and then printing. At last we will get our output. Okay, so this is basically our 2D array. Okay, so next is C++ pointer. So we can use pointer in C++. So you already know what is a pointer. So it is a variable. It is also known as a locator or indicator that points to an address of a value. Okay, so pointer is basically we can say a reference variable that points to the and refer to the particular variable value. So usage of pointer is basically dynamic memory allocation. So in C language also we can dynamically allocate memory using malloc and calloc functions where pointer is used. And also pointer in C language and also in C++ are widely used in arrays, functions and structures. So it reduces the code and improve the performance. So advantage, pointer reduces the code and improve the performance, we already discussed. And it is used to retrieving string trees and used with array structure and functions. So we can return multiple values from function using pointer, and it makes you able to access any memory location in the computer memory. Okay, So this is basic example and simple example of using pointer and printing the address and values. So as you can see, we have a number variable of integer type which have 30 value. Okay, and this is a declaration of pointer of p variable. Okay, and this pointer stores the address of this number variable and this printing statement. So by this statement, address of p number variable will be print, and by this statement also address of p variable is will be print, and by this value of p variable will be print. So this asterisk p symbol represent the value of p variable, and this simple p variable represent the address of p variable, and this ampersand and this number ampersand with this number variable also represent the address of this location. Okay, so this basically pointer stores the address of this number variable. Okay, so next topic is size of operator. So you already know about size of operator. So size of is an operator that evaluates the size of data type, constant, variable, and it is a compile time operator. So it returns the size of any variable or a constant at the compilation time. So size, which is calculated by size of operator, is the amount of RAM occupied in the computer. So syntax is size of operator and particular data type, okay, with their size. Okay, so in the above syntax, the data type can be data type of a variable, constant, union, structure, or any other user defined data type. So size of operator can be applied to the following operand types when an operand is of data type. Okay, so if the parameter is of size of operator contains the data type of a variable, then the size of operator will return the size of the data type. Okay, and next is array of pointer. So array of pointer is simply an array that consists of a variable of pointer type. Okay, so which means that the variable is a pointer addressing to some other elements. Okay, so suppose we create an array of pointer holding 5 integers pointers, so then its declaration would look like this. So in the above declaration, we declare an array of pointer named as ptr, and it allocates 5 integer pointers in memory. So the element of an array of pointer can also be initialized by assigning the address of some other elements. So in this case, variable declaration, and this pointer, second pointer, contains the address of this variable. Okay, so I hope you understood what is array of pointer. Okay, so it's simply an array of pointer is an array that consists of a variable of pointer type. Okay, so next is what is void pointer. So void pointer is a general purpose pointer that can hold the address of any data type. Okay, not any particular data type is already mentioned, so it but is not associated with any data type. So syntax is void keyword with pointer variable. Okay, so in C++ we cannot assign the address of a variable to a variable of a different data type. So in this example, you can see integer pointer declaration, floating variable declaration. Okay, and then assign a variable to this pointer, so it will throw an error because we cannot assign the address of a variable to the variable of different data type. Okay, in C++. Okay, so next is C++ references. Okay, so basically C++ support two types of variable: an ordinary variable. So ordinary variable is a variable that contains the value of some type. So example, we create a variable of type int, which means that the variable can hold the value of type integer. Okay, so a pointer is a variable that store the address of another variable. So okay, so it can be referenced also to retrieve the value to which the pointer points to. So these are basically, and there is another variable that C++ support, which is references. Okay, so it is a variable that behaves as an alias for another variable, and we can say act as a reference variable. Okay, so there are basically two types of references, and there are basically two ways to use this references variable. So first is references to non-constant value, and then references as aliases. Okay, so I hope you understood. We will discuss about what is references in our next video. Okay, with practical examples and execution. Okay, so what is function pointer in C++? So as we know that pointer are used to point some variables. Similarly, the function pointer is a pointer used to point functions. Okay, if you want in your program to point particular function, so you can use this function pointer. So it is basically used to store the address of a function. Okay, so we can call the function by using the function pointer, or we can also pass the pointer to another function as a parameter. So as you can see in this diagram, so this is basically a application memory area. So okay, so what would be the address of a function? So we have a program name program.cpp, and it will execute and generate program.exe file. So we have a program, we have simply an int main method, and this we only want to print this hello world statement. Okay, so source code, it will by using compiler it will convert to machine code, and store this in static global and static application memory area. So what is the address of a function? Okay, so we basically use pointer to point some variables. Similarly, the function pointer is a pointer used to point functions. If we want to point particular function, and even driving applications, callback, and even for storing the function in an array. Okay, so we will discuss about this function pointer, void pointer, references, okay, with practical implementation in our next video. Okay, so OOPS, object oriented programming system. Okay, most of you already know about what is OOPS. So object means a real world entity, simply as span, chair, table. So object oriented programming is simply a methodology or paradigm to design a program using classes and objects. Okay, so it simply simplifies the software development and maintenance by providing some concepts. So these are basically some basic pillars of object oriented programming. First is object. Okay, simply a real world entity, any real world entity. Same. Next is class, which is basically a blueprint and structure in which we can map our objects. Okay, so we'll discuss about this later, what is class, and inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. Okay, so what is C++ object? We already discussed, is a real world entity. For example, chair, pen, mobile, laptop, whatever object. Okay, so in other words, object is simply an entity that has state and behavior. Okay, so here state means data and behavior means functionality. Okay, so object is a runtime entity, so it is created at runtime. Okay, so it's basically an instance of a class. Okay, so in this example here, student class have this s1 object. Okay, so create an object of student. Okay, so student is the type, and s1 is the reference variable that refers to the instance of student class. Okay, so what is class? So it is simply a blueprint template from which objects are created. So it can have fields, method, constructor. So we will discuss about this class and object later. Okay, so what is constructor? So constructor is simply a special method, okay, which is basically used to initialize our object. Okay, which is used to, normally for initialization purpose. Okay, and it is called and invoked at the time of creating object. Okay, at the time of object creation. So it is used to initialize the data members of new object generally. So we basically have two types of constructor. First is default constructor, and then parameterized constructor. So in default constructor, which has no argument. Okay, simple constructor which has no argument. Okay, it is known as default constructor. So it is invoked and called at the time of creating object. And in parameterized constructor, which has parameters, okay, it's called parameterized constructor. So it is used to provide different values to distinct objects. So don't worry about. Okay, so if you couldn't be able to understand what is default constructor, what is parameterized constructor, and all different concept, so don't worry about this. We will execute and use this all concept and trying to understand in our next video practically all concepts. Okay, so don't worry about if you couldn't be able to understand any concept. Okay, so next is C++ constructor and destructor. So C++ also have destructor, okay, like constructor. So what is destructor? So destructor are basically a member functions in a class that deletes an object. Okay, so they are called when a class object goes out of a scope. So such as when the function ends, the program ends, a delete variable is called. Okay, so destructor have the same name as their class name, just like constructor. Okay, and their name is preceded by this tilde symbol. Okay, as you can see in this, this is basically a destructor. This is constructor, this is destructor. Okay, so in main method we create basically creating an object of employee e1 and e2. Okay, so invoke this constructor. Okay, so constructor invoke. Okay, then this constructor invoke, okay, by using this e1 and e2 reference object. Okay, and then destructor invoke. Okay, so first constructor invoked and then destructor invoke. So basically destructor are member functions in class that deletes an object. So create an object and then delete an object. Okay, So next is static. So you already know what is static. Is simply a keyword or modifier that belongs to the type, not instance. So why we need to use and why we should use this static keyword? So because of memory efficiency. Okay, so now we don't need to create an instance for accessing the static member, so it saves memory. So it belongs to the type, so it will not get memory each time when instance is created. Okay, so instance is not required to access the static members. Okay, so static can be field, method, constructor, class, properties, operator, and event. Okay, so it's simply a keyword or modifier that belongs to the type. Okay, so advantages, memory efficiency. Okay, so we will discuss about this static class, static methods, and static fields, okay, in our next video. So structs, and what is structs? Okay, and see, you already used and studied this, what is struct. So in C++ also, classes and struct are blueprints that are used to create the instance of a class. So struct are basically used for lightweight objects such as rectangle, color, point. And unlike class in C++, structs are value type then reference type. So it is useful if you have data that is not intended to be modified, okay, after creation of struct. Okay, so C++ structure is a collection of different data types. So if you want to create an particular program and application in which you want to use different data types, so you can just create an structure. Okay, so you can just create the structure and it is similar to the class that holds different data types. So okay, so syntax of structure is this struct keyword and user defined structure name and then member declaration of different data type. Okay, so structure is declared by preceding the struct keyword followed by the identifier. Okay, inside this curly braces we can declare the member variables of different data types. Okay, so what is enumeration? So enumeration is simply a data type that contains fixed set of constant. So okay, so it can be used simply for days of the week, Sundays, Monday, Tuesday, okay, to the Saturday, and directions also north, south, east, and west. So enum constant are static and final implicitly. So it can be thought of as classes that have fixed set of constant. Okay, so points to be remember for C++ enum is enums improve type safety, and enum can be easily used in switch, and enum can also be traversed easily, and enum can have fields, constructor, and also have methods, and enum may implement many interfaces but cannot extend any class. Okay, because it internally extend enum class. Okay, so I hope you understood, and you already know what is enumeration and what is structure. Okay, so what is inheritance? So inheritance is simply a process in which we have two classes, and we can say in which one object acquires all the properties and behaviors of its parent object automatically, and we can say we have a child and parent relationship. So okay, so in such way you can reuse, extend, or modify the attributes and behavior which are defined in other class, as we can say in our parent class. Okay, so in C++, the class which inherits the member of another class is called derived class. Okay, and the class whose member are inherited is called base class. Okay, so the derived class is the specialized class for the base class. Okay, so what are the basic advantages of C++? So main advantage is code reusability. Okay, so you can reuse the member of your parent class. Okay, so you just need to extend the parent class, and you can use all attributes and all properties and behavior of your parent class. Okay, so that's why it have advantages of code reusability. You can reuse all the members. Okay, so there is no need to define the member again, so less code is required in this class. So we will discuss about this later. Okay, with their program and execution. Okay, so what are the types of inheritance? So supports 5 type of inheritance. Okay, first is single inheritance, then multiple inheritance, okay, and then hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance. So Java does not support multiple inheritance. Okay, we already started our Java series, so you can watch, okay, our Java series also. Okay, so Java doesn't support multiple inheritance. Okay, but in C++ it supports all 5 type of inheritance: single inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, multi-level inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. Okay, so single inheritance is simply we have 2 classes, one is parent class and one is child class. Okay, so child class extend all the properties of parent class. And in multi-level inheritance we have level by level multi-level classes, one class and then another class. So child class extend the properties of parent class, and this class extend the properties of their parent class. Okay, and then hybrid inheritance, if we have if we want to use the combination of different inheritance, if we have the combination of two different inheritance, so this inheritance is called hybrid inheritance. And then hierarchical inheritance, if two child classes have one parent class. Okay, if we have hierarchical structure. Okay, if two child classes have one parent class, and then multiple inheritance, so we will discuss about this multiple inheritance later. Okay, so these are basically 5 type of inheritances. Okay, so what is polymorphism? So simply polymorphism is the combination of poly plus morph, which means many forms. Okay, so in this real life example, as you can see, let us consider a real life example. Okay, so a lady behaves like a teacher in a classroom, mother or daughter in a home, and customer in a market. So as you can see, a single person is behaving differently according to the situation. So okay, so same in our coding domain and in our programming and in our application. Okay, we need this concept, and basically we also have a situation in our application and programming domain. That's why we need to use this polymorphism. So we will discuss about this, why we need to use and what is the exact purpose of this polymorphism. So as you can see, polymorphism also have two categories. First is compile time polymorphism, then is runtime polymorphism. Okay, and then compile time polymorphism also have two categories, and two first is function overloading, and then is operator overloading. And runtime polymorphism have virtual function. So we will discuss about this later. Okay, so next is interfaces. Okay, so what is interfaces? Abstract classes. So basically to achieve the abstraction and to achieve this pillar of object oriented principle, this abstraction, we need to use abstract classes. And we can say abstract classes are the only way to achieve abstraction in C++. So what is abstraction? So abstraction is the process to hide the internal details. If you want to hide particular section, and if you want to expose only particular section to the user, okay, and only want to show particular functionality, particular interface to the user, okay, so we need to use this abstraction. Okay, so abstraction is simply the process to hide the internal details and showing functionality only. Okay, so abstraction can be achieved only by two ways. First is abstract class and then interface. Okay, so abstract class and interface both can have abstract methods which are necessary for abstraction. So we will discuss about this later, what is abstract class and how we can create this abstract class and how we can implement this interface and abstract classes. Okay, so now let's discuss about exception handling. Okay, so if you already studied and used Java and already know about Java programming language, so you already know about what is exception handling. Okay, so exception handling, we can say, is the process by which we can handle our exceptions, not the error, exception. Okay, exception and error is different. Okay, if you want to handle the exceptions, okay, runtime exceptions, so you can create the and use this exception handling concept. By you can easily create the exceptions in your program. As you can see, these are all different exceptions, like this std exceptions. Okay, so what is the purpose of this exception? It is an exception and parent class of all standard C++ exceptions. So this is basically an parent class and exception of all other exceptions. So this is logic failure exception. It is an exception that can be detected by reading a code. So these are different exceptions. This is runtime error exception. It is an exception that cannot be detected by reading a code, and bad exception. So these are basically different exceptions. So we will discuss about this on our next video. Okay, with their execution. Okay, so what is malloc? Calloc, you already know about what is malloc, calloc. So malloc is a function that allocates memory at the runtime. So this function returns the void pointer, which means that it can be assigned to any pointer type, and the this void pointer can be further typecast to get the pointer that points to the memory of specified type. The syntax of malloc is data type and variable name, and this type with this abstract. Okay, and this malloc keyword and size of type. Okay, so what is type? So it is the data type of the variable. Okay, data type of the variable for which the memory has to be allocated. Okay, and then variable name, it defines the name of the variable that points to the memory. Okay, and then this type and asterisk symbol, it is used for typecasting. Okay, so that we can get the pointer of the specified type that points to the memory. Okay, and then this size of Okay, the size of operator we already discussed is used in the malloc function to obtain the memory size required for the allocation. So next topic is and next operator is new operator. Okay, so like malloc, there is also a new operator. Okay, so new operator does not use the size of operator, okay, to allocate the memory. Okay, so it also does not use the resize as the new operator allocates sufficient memory for an object. So we can say it is basically a construct that calls the constructor at the time of declaration to initialize an object. Okay, so as we know that the new operator allocates the memory in a heap. Okay, so if the memory is not available in a heap and the new operator tries to allocate the memory, then the exception is thrown. Okay, so if our code is not able to handle the exception, then the program will be terminated abnormally. Okay, so syntax of new operator is data type and variable name, this new operator, and then this type, okay, type keyword, and this data type, okay, and then this parameter list. So as you can see in this example, we have an integer pointer variable declaration, then this ptr and this pointer helps us to allocating memory to this pointer variable ptr by using this new operator. Okay, and then this printing statements. Okay, so as you can see, by using the new operator, okay, we basically don't need to use the size of operator, okay, to allocate the memory. Okay, so it's simply a construct that calls the constructor and helps us to initialize the object and helps us to initialize and at the time of declaration and helps us to allocate the memory in a heap. Okay, so what is the difference between malloc versus new? Okay, so both the malloc and new in C++ are used for same purpose, but malloc and the new have different syntax. First differences, okay, both have different syntaxes. Okay, the main difference between the malloc and new is that the new is an operator while malloc is in standard library function. Okay, and that is predefined in the standard library header file. So what is new? We already discussed about what is new. So new is simply a memory allocation operator which is used to allocate the memory at the runtime. Okay, and it is allocated memory in a heap, so it returns the starting address of the memory which gets assigned to the variable. Okay, so the functionality of the new operator in C++ similar to malloc, which was used in C programming also. So this is basically the basic difference between malloc versus new. Okay, so we already discussed what is the difference between, but the operator new can be overloaded. Okay, here is the another difference. While the malloc function cannot be overloaded, okay, and new is an operator we already discussed, and malloc is a predefined function. Okay, and if the sufficient memory is not available, so new operator will throw an exception we already discussed. And in the new operator we need to specify the number of objects to be allocated, while in malloc function we need to specify the number of bytes to be allocated. So here is the another difference. And in the case of new operator we have to use the delete operator to deallocate the memory, but in the case of malloc function we have to use the free function to deallocate the memory. Okay, so here the syntax of new operator we already discussed. And what is the type? Data type, reference variable, name of the pointer variable. New is simply an operator, and data type can be any basic data type. And this example, as you can see, this is a pointer variable, and by using this new operator we basically initialize an object. Okay, so here is the syntax of malloc. Okay, so in our next video we will execute all programs, okay, by using all concepts and all operators and all keywords, okay, on all methods. So what is the difference between delete and free? Okay, we already discussed what is the difference between malloc and new. So delete is also simply an operator, okay, like new, okay, that deallocates the memory dynamically, while the free is a function like malloc function, okay, that destroys the memory at the runtime. So the delete operator is used to delete the pointer which is either allocated using new operator or a null pointer. Okay, whereas the free function is used to delete the pointer that is either allocated using malloc, calloc or realloc function or null pointer. When the delete operator destroys the allocated memory, then it calls the destructor of a class in a C++. We already discussed about what is destructor. Whereas the free function does not call the destructor, it only frees the memory from the heap. So the delete operator is faster than free function. Okay, so I hope you understood. So what is virtual function? This topic is also very important for your upcoming interview and placement. So what is C++ virtual function? So virtual function is a member function in the base class that you redefine in a derived class. So it is declared using the virtual keyword. So what is the purpose of this virtual function? Okay, we so it is used to tell the compiler to perform dynamic linkage, okay, or late binding on the function. Okay, so what is dynamic linkage and late binding, we will discuss in our next slide. Okay, so there is a necessity to use the single pointer to refer to all the objects of the different classes. So we create the pointer to the base class, okay, that refers to all the derived objects. Okay, but when base class pointer contains the address of the derived class object, always execute the base class function. So the issue is, this issue can only be resolved by using the virtual function. Okay, so virtual is a keyword preceding the normal declaration of a function. Okay, so when the function is made virtual, so C++ determines which function is to be invoked and called, okay, at the runtime based on the type of the object pointed by the base class pointer. Okay, so what is late binding or dynamic linkage? So in late binding, function call is resolved during runtime, whatever function you want to call. Okay, so therefore compiler determines the type of the object at runtime and then binds the function call by using virtual function. So here is the rule of virtual functions. So virtual function must be member of some class. Okay, and then virtual function cannot be static member. Okay, and they are accessed through object pointers, we already discussed, and they can be a friend of another class. Okay, and virtual function must be defined in the base class even though it is not used. Okay, and then the prototypes, all the prototypes of a virtual function of the base class and all the derived class must be identical. Okay, so if the two functions with the same name but different prototypes, C++ will consider them as the overloaded function. So we will discuss about all this overloaded function and this friend function and friend method in our next slide, in our next video. Okay, so don't worry and don't confuse about these all new methods and functions. Okay, so we cannot have a virtual constructor, but we can have a virtual destructor. Okay, so here these are basically all rules of virtual function. We will discuss about all in deeply in our next video. Okay, so here is the most important topic. Okay, why C++ is different from other programming language. So here is the reason: because of standard template library. Okay, so STL is a set of C++ template classes to provide common programming data structures and functions. Because of this STL library, and we can say because of this STL template, we have C++ provide different common programming data structures and functions such as list, stack, array. Okay, so we can easily use these data structures and algorithms and containers for our competitive programming, for our complex applications. So we can say it is a library of container classes, algorithms and iterators. Okay, so it is a generalized library, and so it's component and parameterized. Okay, so a working knowledge of template classes is a prerequisite for working with STL. So you should know about, and you already have a working knowledge, you should already have a working knowledge of template classes. So don't worry, we will perform all implementations and executions in our next video using STL. Okay, so STL has basically 4 components. Okay, so in this video our only focus and our only aim is to only know about all theoretical concepts and aware about all theoretical concepts. All practical implementations, codings and all implementations we will perform in our next videos. Okay, so STL has basically 4 components. First is algorithms, then containers, then functions, and then iterators. Okay, so containers, what is containers? So container can be described as the objects that holds the data of the same data type. So we can say container can be described as the object. We can say container is are used to implement different data structures, for example array, list and trees. Okay, which is basically hold the data of the same type. Okay, so following are the different container that gives the detail of all the container as well as the header files and the type of iterators. Okay, so first is vector. So vector is basically a class that creates a dynamic array following insertion and deletion at the back. Okay, so here is the header file of vector. Okay, and iterator is random access. So okay, so we can access randomly. Okay, so next is list. So list is simply the sequence container that allows, so we can say these all are different data structures. Okay, so we can use for different purposes, different algorithms, and for our different applications, in our different applications also. Okay, and most important is we can use these containers and data structure in our competitive programming. Okay, so next is DQ. DQ is the double-ended queue. You already know what queue. Okay, circular queue, DQ, priority queue. Okay, so DQ is the double-ended queue that allows the insertion and deletion from both the ends. Okay, so header files is DQ. We have header files of all the containers and data types in this C++ language. Okay, we all have containers. Okay, and components of STL. Okay, so this is very powerful and important feature of C++ programming language, because we have already pre-built and pre-built containers, header files of all data structures, arrays, lists, trees. Okay, we only need to include these header files in our program, and we can use all features and all structural features of these data structure in our program, all access features and all sorting, searching, all features, bidirectional, random access, all iterator features in our program. Okay, so next is set is an associate container for storing unique sets. Okay, so it is basically a bidirectional. Okay, and multi-set is also bidirectional. Multi-set is an associate container for storing non-unique sets. So set is container for storing unique sets and multi-set for storing non-unique set. Okay, and what is map? So map is also an associate container for storing unique key value pair. So map have a pair values. First is key and another is their value, so it have a key and value pair. Example is each key is associated with only one value, 1-to-1 mapping. Okay, and then multi-map, so for storing key value pair, and each key can be associated with more than one values. And then stack, last in first out principle, and our stack header file and no iterator. And then queue, first in first out, it also have no iterator. And priority queue, it also have no iterator, and first element out is always the highest priority. So we'll discuss about all components and all data structure in our next video. Okay, so what are the classification of these containers? Okay, so these are basically three classification. First is sequence container, then associative container, and then derived container. So in sequence container we have these three components and these three data structure. First is vector, then DQ, and then list, because they have sequence property, they have sequence structure. Vector have also sequence structure, DQ have also sequence structure, and list have also sequence. And these all components are have associative property. Okay, so set, multi-set, map, and multi-map. And stack, queue, and priority queue are already derived containers. Okay, so each container class contains a set of functions that can be used to manipulate the content. Okay, so I hope you understood. So next is, what is iterator? So iterators are basically pointer like entities which is used to access the individual elements in a container. So we can use these iterators of different data type containers and elements. Okay, to access the different and to manipulate the individual elements in a container. So iterators are moved sequentially from one element to another element. This process is known as iterating through a container. So it basically have two functions. First is begin, then end. Okay, so member function begin returns an iterator to the first element of the vector, and end function returns the iterator to the last element of the container. So as you can see, we have an array. So begin points to the first element and end points to the last element. Here is the size, and as you can see, here is the basic syntax. So we will discuss about this later. Okay, so what are the different categories of iterator? First is input iterator, then is output iterator, then is forward iterator, bidirectional, and random access. So in input iterator, it is an iterator that allows the program to read the values, okay, and to read the input from the container. And next is to dereference. The dereferencing the input iterator allows to read a value from the container, but it does not alter the value. And input or iterator is also useful for can be incremented, but it cannot be decremented, and it also a one-way iterator. Okay, and output iterator except is similar to input, except that it allows the program to modify a value of the container, but it does not allow to read it. Okay, so it is a one way and it is a write only iterator. And next is forward. So it uses the forward operator to navigate through the container. Or if you want to move forward and want to navigate, so you can use this forward operator to navigate through the container. And forward iterator goes through each element of a container and one element at a time, okay, one by one element at a time. And then bidirectional iterator is similar to the forward iterator, except that it also moves in the backward direction, okay. So it is bidirectional. It can move to both direction, okay. So it is a two-way iterator and it can be incremented as well as decremented. Then random access, as the name says, it can be used to access the random element of a container. So we will discuss about these all iterators and containers in our next video. So what are the operations supported by these iterators? So first is input, okay. So we can use this iterator for our input operation, okay. So we can use this we can access the element by using these operators, okay, for reading purpose and for increment operation purpose and for comparison, and also for output. For by output we can use for writing purpose and for increment purpose, okay. By forward, element access, read, write, increment operation, and for comparison. And for bidirectional also we can also use for all these purpose and also for random access, okay. So we will discuss about this later. So what are algorithms? What is algorithms? And so algorithms are the functions used across the variety. So we already have a pre-built functions in this STL library, and we can say algorithms. So we can use these algorithms across a variety of container for processing its content, okay. So points to remember is algorithm provides approx 60 algorithm functions to perform the complex operations. So standard algorithms allows us to work with two different types of the container at the same time. So algorithms are not the member functions of a container, but they are standalone template function. So it saves our lot of time efforts. So if you want to access the STL algorithm, so we must include the algorithm header file in our program, okay. So STL algorithms can be categorized as non-mutating algorithms, mutating algorithms, sorting, set, and relational algorithms. So what is non-mutating algorithm? So non-mutating algorithms are the simply algorithms that do not alter any value of a container object. We can't modify and alter any value of the container object, nor do they change the order of the element in which they appear, okay. And these algorithm can be used for all the container objects and they make use of the forward iterators. Then mutating algorithms are the algorithm that can be used to alter the value of the container, and they can also be used to change the order of the element in which they appear. Then sorting algorithms are the modifying algorithm used to sort the element in a container. Then set algorithms are also known as sorted range algorithm. So this algorithm used to perform some functions on a container that greatly improve the efficiency of a program. Then relational algorithms are the algorithm used to work on the numerical data, okay. So they are mainly designed to perform the mathematical operation to all the elements in the container. So what is vector? What is C++ vector? So vector is simply a sequence container class. We have a pre-built sequence container class that implements dynamic array. So okay, so we can say it is basically a dynamic array, means size automatically changes, okay. So in array have a disadvantage of fixed size, but by using vector we have a implementation of dynamic array, means size automatically changes when appending elements. So vector stores the element in contiguous memory locations and allocates the memory as needed at runtime. So what is the difference between vector and array? So array follows static approach. Fixed size approach means its size cannot be changed during runtime, while vector implement dynamic array means it automatically resizes itself when appending elements. So here is this syntax of vector, okay. So here is the vector name v1, okay. So vector and whatever object type, and this is variable v1, okay. So in this example we can see include iostream and include this vector container, okay, and main method and this vector container of string data type and vector name. And by using this pushback method, it already have pre-built methods, pushback method, okay. So we'll discuss about this later, what is the purpose of this pushback method, okay, and begin and okay. So don't need to worry about this, okay. So our only focus in this video is all basics and what is the purpose of this C++ vector. Practical implementation we will execute and all implementation in our next video. So these are all basic vector functions. It provides a reference to an element and back, okay. Back function, it give a reference to the last element. Front, first element. Swap between two vector, exchange the element. Pushback, pop back, okay. And empty, so it removes the last element from a vector, Okay, so these are basically all vector functions. Okay, next is DQ. You already know what DQ stands for, double-ended queue. Okay, so it generalizes a queue data structure. Insertion deletions can be done performed from both the end. Okay, so here is the syntax of DQ. Okay, so next is here are all basic methods of DQ function. Assign, it assigns a new content and replacing the old one. And mplace, it adds a new element at a specified position. mplace back, it adds a new element at the end. And mplace front, it adds a new element in the beginning of the queue. Insert simply adds a new element just before the specified position. Push back, push front, push back is used for add the new element at the end of the container. So these are basically all DQ functions. Okay, so what is list? So we already discussed what is list. So list is a contiguous container while vector is a non-contiguous container. Okay, so list stores the element on a contiguous memory and vector stores in a non-contiguous memory. Okay, so insertion and deletion in the middle of a vector is very costly as it takes a lot of time in shifting all the elements. So linked list overcome this problem and it is implemented using list container. So list supports the bidirectional and provides an efficient way for insertion and deletion operation. Traversal is slow in list as list elements are accessed sequentially while vector supports a random access. So traversal is faster in vector. Okay, so list can be initialized in two ways. Okay, first is by using this way and second is this way. So here is the basic syntax and here is the basic example of this list container. Okay, so we will discuss about this in our next video. Okay, so next is C++ STL set. So sets are the part of this STL library. Sets are the associative container that stores sorted key in key and value pair form in which key is unique and it can be inserted or deleted but cannot be altered. So what are the different parameters and in this set syntax? So first is T, which is the type of element stored in this container set. Then is comparison class that takes two arguments of the same type, bool, and returns a value true and false. This argument is optional and the binary predicate, okay, less T. And then alloc, type of the allocator object which is used to define the storage allocation model. So we'll discuss about this later. Okay, what is stack? You already know what is stack. Stack is based on the purpose and environment of the program creation. We have a large number of data structure. So data structure works on LIFO technique, last in first out. Okay, so this element which was first inserted will be extracted at the end and so on. So there is an element called the top which is element at the uppermost position, and all the insertion deletion operation are made at the top element itself in the stack. Okay, next queue, first in first out operation. The element which was first inserted will be extracted at the first and so on. So there is an element called as front and rear, which is the first element at the frontmost position, and rear which is the element at the last position. In normal queue, insertion of element take at the rear and deletion is done at from the front. So queue is the application areas are implied as the container adapters. So both stack and queue, each of them has their own domain and utility based on the purpose and environment of the program creation. So we have a large number of data structure. Okay, so next is priority queue. Okay, so priority queue also queue follows the FIFO policy, while priority queue pops the element based on their property. So highest priority element is popped and delete first. Okay, so it is similar to ordinary queue in certain aspect but different in the following ways. So in priority queue, every element in the queue is associated with some priority, but priority does not exist in a queue data structure. Okay, so the element with the highest priority in a priority queue will be removed first, while queue follows the first in first out policy. Okay, means the element which is inserted first will be deleted first. Okay, so if more than one element exists, with the same priority, then the order of the element in a queue will be taken into consideration. Okay, so here is the basic syntax. So noted point is the priority queue is the extended version of a normal queue, except that the element with the highest priority will be removed first from the priority queue. Okay, so next is map function. So map are also a part of this STL library. So map are the associative container that store sorted key value pair in which each key is unique and it can be inserted or deleted but cannot be altered, modified. So value associated with key can be changed. So here is the example, a map of employee where employee ID is the key and the name is the value, can be represented as follows. Okay, so I hope you understood. If you have any query, you can ask freely in comment section. So please subscribe and support us. Thank you, friends. So thanks for watching. Please support our channel, join and follow us.